Hi, I just wanted to get you a good shot of the board before I started. We're going to be going over the revisions to make for your research paper. And remember, as I wrote on the top of this board, that this is worth, this is worth 10 exam points. That's 1/3 of your exam grade. That's 1/10 of your entire grade this quarter. Do you understand? Okay. So, mark revisions on intro, body, and conclusion. So go through, starting with the introduction, first body paragraph, the rest of the body paragraphs, the conclusion, and mark revisions on these. It says show the change. Okay, I have several students, not necessarily in this class, but I'm trying to think. Anyway, but I have several students that want to make the revisions and send me that paper that they made the revisions on, but I don't see anything. I can't see any revisions that were made. And I cannot grade that. I can't grade what I can't see. I'm not going to print out all 60 whatever students' papers 8 times a year and put them side by side, the rough draft and the final draft, and try to figure out where the revisions were. That is not, ain't nobody got time for that. So what you need to do is mark your revisions. Put the number next to it. Make sure that you have shown, so you just put a number 2, I don't know what that means, okay? So if you put a number 2 next to a transition word that you put at the beginning of your third paragraph, then now I know what you did, okay? So that is what I'm talking about, and I'm hot, so sorry about having to clean my glasses. Anyway, mark revisions on intro, body, and conclusion. Show the change. For full credit, mark at least 10 changes that correspond to at least 5 of the 7 items below. Remember, you may need to change more than that. Remember that always revisions have 2 purposes. Number 1, I need to see that you can make all these kinds of changes. So that's the grade for the revisions. Number 2, these are the things I'm going to be looking at when I grade your final draft. So it's important that you make the changes you need to make so that when you do your final draft, you can have the best paper or the best grade possible on that. Okay, so I've explained that to you probably many times, so you should know that by now. First of all, ideas. Will this be at least 4 pages long, and does it cover everything in your outline? So when I say 4 pages long, some people freak out, but then when they realize that it's double spaced, then they're like, okay, I think I could do that. It's double spaced. Double spaced, however, not more than 12-point font and not more than 1-inch margins. Okay. Does it cover everything in your outline? I will be looking back at your outline to make sure that all the things you talked about in your outline got covered. Okay, I've already done that for most of you guys when I looked at your rough draft paragraphs, but make sure. If not, you can add more details. You can add analysis. You should always have some analysis, which means that you should give some of your thoughts about the topic, and not just paraphrase after paraphrase after paraphrase after paraphrase, because that's not really your writing, that's your rewriting or something. Examples, okay? So like, Machu Picchu is known for its flora and fauna. Okay, great. Give me some examples, okay? I know you're not writing about Machu Picchu, but you get the idea. Number 2, organization. At least 1 paragraph per outline section. Okay, so there should be an intro paragraph. There should be 1 or 2 background paragraphs. There should be a paragraph for each of that section 3 part of your outline, A, B, and C. And there should be a conclusion paragraph. Do you have all of those? Okay. Is everything in logical order? Do you need another paragraph break? If you have a page-long paragraph, that's too long. You probably need to find a place to break it. a transition word or phrase, so you're writing along and you go to the next paragraph. On the other hand, blah, blah, blah. Or like this, also that. Something kind of like that, just to transition from one paragraph to another. You can add something like that. That would be a number 2 correction. Number 3, voices. Voice, rather. Not voices. We're not schizophrenic. Okay. Is this paper your own best formal writing? Okay, so eliminate all forms of the word you. You is not used in formal writing. Neither is you, yourself, or your. Okay. Eliminate all quotations except a maximum of 2. You should not have multiple quotations. If you have more than 2, you need to paraphrase one of them, at least. Really, the only thing you should be quoting is if someone is an expert about your topic, or if somebody is a political figure that has power about your topic, or maybe a well-known person that's put out a public statement about your topic. Okay? Those kinds of things you can quote, eliminate all quotations except a maximum of 2, otherwise paraphrase, and beware of plagiarism. Remember, if I run your paper through a plagiarism detector and I find that it is 40, 50, 60 or more % plagiarized, then you will get a 0 on your final draft. That's it. Okay. So if you have words that you don't know, you're paraphrasing along and you say blah, 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 and blah, 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 or an amalgam of something. Do you know what an amalgam is? Or blah, blah, blah was the impetus for something. Do you know what impetus means? If there is something, a word that you don't know the meaning of, do not include it in your paraphrase. Look it up if you need to and find a synonym that you know. If I'm reading along and I see a bunch of what I call $4 words, like very culto type words in English that you wouldn't know, I'm thinking, that's going to give me a reason to run it through a plagiarism detector. See what I mean? I use plagiarism detectors and I use Google. Okay. Then 4, word choice. Use that. I hope I've warned you enough about plagiarism. Have I warned you enough about plagiarism? Don't do it. Okay. I've actually had students who had 0s on their final draft of their research paper. Please don't do it. Okay, number 4, word choice. Use action verbs when possible. Check your English usage. So action words, okay. Let's see. So-and-so is a candidate for president. That is not an action verb. However, so-and-so is running for president. Running is an action verb. Do you see the difference? It sounds better to use action verbs. When possible. Don't be ridiculous about it. Check your English usage. So one simple example that a lot of people have is the word in and on and at, not knowing which one to use. We've gone over these things multiple times, not just this year, but before. The difference between of and from. The difference between understanding and comprehensible. Lots of different things. Make sure you're thinking about that and not just using the first word that comes to your mind. Sentence fluency. Correct run-on sentences. Remember, run-on sentences are the ones with 2 sentences put together or more that don't have a conjunction or anything joining them like that. Also, what came to my mind while I was saying that, which is why I paused, was another sentence fluency thing that I didn't put on here is if your sentence lacks a subject. Okay, if your sentence lacks a subject, then you need to put one. If you start a sentence with the word is, for example, then it should be a question in English. We don't start declarative sentences with the word is, ever. Okay. Let's see. break up too long sentences. If you have a sentence that's like 4 or 5 or more lines long typewritten, that is way too long. If you use and many times, too long. So you need to make those very long sentences, some of you do that, into 2 or more sentences. That would be a sentence fluency correction. Number 6, conventions. This is the part that everybody usually gets right. Correct your spelling, grammar, and punctuation errors. Go through there. Is there a comma needed here and you didn't put one? Did you put present tense when it should be past tense? Did you spell something wrong? Those things. Documentation. Okay, this part is essential. If you don't have the documentation, I will not accept your paper. So we've already written a bibliography or works cited list at this point. So you should you be using resources that are on that list. If you're using resources that are not on that list, then you need to add those resources. I had somebody in the senior class use a couple of Bible verses, and she had to add the Bible to her list of resources. Okay? Documentation. Each paragraph should have at least 2 in-text parenthetical citations. I forgot to put the other parentheses here. Just imagine that it's there, okay? Parenthetical citations that correspond to your resources. You should use information from at least 4 sources. So that's why we did the 4 sources in your tareas. So some people have been thinking that each paragraph of your body should be from one different source. That is not necessarily the case. I would rather it not be. I'd rather you jumble them up. But I'm not going to count it against you. But what I'm saying here is that if you need to add more, you can add something from a different source to that same paragraph. You just need to make sure you mark what source it came from. Use information from at least 4 sources. So in the parentheses should go, first of all, if there's an author, the author's last name, just like that. If there is no author, the next choice is one of these. If it's a well-known repository of information like Wikipedia, National Geographic, Encyclopedia Britannica, you can put that in parentheses. If it is just a blog or an article in some magazine, then online magazine, then you can use the title or even just the first couple of words of the title. So 11 reasons in this case. And if it starts with a number or has a number in the title, go ahead and keep the number in the title, since that is the published title with a numeral in it. Also, if it is a Spanish source, then remember to keep your title or your website or whatever in Spanish. So if it's from Infop, then you could write Infop here because that would be a repository of information. Or Sinajer or something like that. Or if, the title is Spanish, Once Razones, for example, then write it in Spanish. Okay. Also, make sure, I guess we've already done that on the bibliography, but you should always keep the resource information, whether it is in the bibliography or in text, in the original language. If it's in Mandarin Chinese, then put it in Mandarin Chinese. I don't think it will be. Anyway, I think this should be all that you need. If you have further questions to do your revisions, let me know. Remember that just like in all the other stages, I might be sending it back to you saying, I don't understand this. This only has this. You need to add this. Okay, so don't wait until midnight, the night that it's due, to turn it in. If at all possible, turn it in when you can. Okay? Be reasonable about it. So after you get done with the revisions, and after a few people have turned in their revisions, I will put the assignment for the final draft And like I said before, if you finish and I approve your bibliography, revisions, and final draft before, and I'll give you a date. I haven't come up with a date yet, but before time, then I'll just say before exam week. There we go. Then you will get significant bonus points, and some of you might need it. So just letting you know. Happy working.